Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our website office hour, and we are going to do a round 3 of Divi modules. So give me a second here while I share my screen. And today I'm going to use a training page, a demonstration page that I've set up on our librarieswin.org training website. And so just so you know, if you've missed or you want to review the last few items on Divi modules, there are on training.librarieswin.org. There is a drop down here with demonstration pages. And right now I have 3 demonstration pages ready for you, and they're all on Divi modules. As we get going, I may end up being combining these a little bit more. But we have our Divi modules. We did round 1, which was on the text and toggle, image gallery, and the blog post and post slider modules. Those are probably the most common modules that you find on your website. Divi modules in round 2 was the accordion, the blurb, the call to action, the tabs, and the testimonial. And then I actually added testimonial into this. I missed that one in the during our actual live recording, but it's very similar to the call to action, except it has a quotation mark. So it's a really good one for using if you have somebody who gave you a quote that you want to put on your website. Today, we're going to look at round 3. We're going to look at modules that relate generally to marketing and marketing at your library. And so we're going to look at the button, the code, contact form, email opt-in, social media, and the social media follow. And I have the map module on here, but we're probably going to skip that today. I was struggling with getting Google to work with me on that one. So we will circle back to map at another date. So to get started, and also if you're new to this, and just a quick aside, if you're new to this, and I need to remember if I put that under website 101, Divi modules round 1, Divi Builder 101. So if you're still not clear on the difference between WordPress and Divi, this is a really good one to review, is the Divi Builder 101. This will talk about what Divi is and how it relates to WordPress. And there is a training video on this. If you click on jump to video, we did have that training, the website office hour on that one. So there will be a review for you there. But today we're going to dive into the website, the demonstration on Divi modules for these modules. And I'm going to go ahead and open this one up as we usually do. Give me a second to... I have to move things around so I can get to it. So if we go into our backend builder, again, the modules, loading, pages. So I'm going to take a look at what these look like on the back end. I have built this page so that we have, on the front end, we have 3 different buttons for the button module. And then when I look at the back end, if it's going to load, I have on the back end, it looks like, and again, this is where the back end looks different than the front. This is actually a text module right here that I just have labeled for the title, the header here. But then it's a header module, I apologize. The Divi button module. So I've given 3 examples on the front end of different ways that the button module can appear. There's a lot of this comes down to your formatting choices. The module will by default create a button for you that aligns with your library website's theme, and then you can modify the look of it. And what I did is I just created modules that go all the way across, and then I did an alignment on the buttons. So the button currently, just so you can see them separately, are aligned, left aligned, center aligned, and right aligned. So if I were to add a button module, I would click on that, on the black plus that says add new module, and then scroll down to add, and there again, alphabetical order, click the add the button. What a button is a really good way to draw somebody's attention to click here and go somewhere. And there's several things you can do with a button module. First, what it's going to do is it's going to ask you to give the button a title. So, and usually it's the default idea is click here, or some text that will get a person to recognize that this is a place they can do this. Now, there is the option of doing a URL, so it can take you to an internal site within your library webpage by using a permalink, or it can take you to an external site. You can also do one of the short tricks is to click on the dynamic content, and that will give you an automatic link. If you wanted to if you wanted it to link back to your homepage, it would work right there. A page link within your website, and then it's going to ask you which page you want it to link to. And then if you decide not to do the page link, there's a post link. Remember, pages and posts are a little bit different. But then, because so you're not going to find your posts under the pages and the pages under the posts. This is, it will, back to the WordPress and Divi 101, WordPress organizes your website pages into a section, and any of the content that goes into your slider or blog posts are posts. And so if you're trying to link directly to a post, you're going to find it listed separately than you would under a page. And then finally, a handy thing that you might find is a media link. So if you had a PDF document or something that you wanted it to link to, rather than trying to find that URL within the media, you can just click on the media link and scroll down, or start typing to find that document. Like if you knew that you had meeting minutes and you wanted people to go, or directly to an agenda, or some document that they wanted to be able to download, a registration form, and you had uploaded that to your media file, you could take that button and make it a download this item button right from here. I'm going to, and you can always adjust and make changes to this. I think in this case, I am going to make it a link to, I'm going to trash that. And I'm just going to make it a homepage link just for the fun of it. That's easy. And then again, if you wanted to open in a new tab so that people stay on that original web page and then go out to a new web page, that's how you would have that in a new tab so that they don't get completely redirected off of your website. Admin label, we are talking more and more about website accessibility. The admin label will not only help you on the back end identify what your button is supposed to be rather than a generic button. So, I mean, in this case, we're doing an example home page link button. That will also help a screen reader define what that button is directed to. So if somebody is using a screen reader and you give it an admin label name, that is going to come up as an alt text for a screen reader to be able to identify, oh, this is a registration form download. And as we learn more about screen readers and alt text, we'll have better direction for you in the future as to how to choose your words for that. Then this is where you get to play with some design. So after you've filled out your content, if you click on that design tab, there's some settings. You can go crazy with your settings. I would play with this and see how it works for you. But you can align your button left, middle, and center, or left, center, and right, which is what I did on our sample page. You can change your text from a dark theme to a light theme. Um, there's some custom styling options for your button so that you can choose your text size and your button background. Again, we're trying to do our best to keep visibility and keeping screen accessibility in mind. So for individuals with low vision ability, do just try to keep in mind on your eye on that today as we go forward. High contrast buttons are going to give you your best bet for those pieces. And there's a lot of design options that you can do. You can add an icon. You can increase you can add your background color for your button. And since I chose the light text, that's probably not going to be the best example. So we'll go with a dark purple for right now. And you can change you can select any of those that you like for that. And your font weight can be bold, all of this fun stuff in here, which you can go crazy with it. The one thing that I do sometimes like to do is look at a box shadow because it might make your button pop out a little bit. And this is, again, when we're talking about marketing, what is going to attract the eye of an individual. So that's what I have for the button. I'll hit preview changes. And now I've got my purple click here button with a gear icon. And instead of the default arrow icon that pops up when you scroll over it. You can also change some of the motion behaviors as you do that. And when I click on the click here button, it's going to bring me to the home page because I set that up to the home page link. Any questions on buttons? Okay. Our code module. This is a little bit more of an advanced module. And usually with a code module, what you are going to have is you are going to be creating a code from somewhere else on the internet, and it will give you the code. So a code module is for embedding iframes. And a lot of times if you're out somewhere and you're creating a map, and this is where the map module and the code module, but we also do this for the calendar on the training page. So if I'm going to go back to my front, this training calendar on the training page, homepage, this is an iframe code module. And we could actually take a look at that real quick. So unless you are pretty adept at writing your own code, chances are you are going to be copying and pasting this code from somewhere else on the website, on the internet. And what it looks like is it's just going to have code content, and your content will be an iframe content. So this is what you would be out creating a Google Calendar or an Outlook calendar or another calendar. And it is going to say, do you want to embed this on your website? And you will say yes. And then it will give you an iframe code. It could be some modifications that you make to it based on this border and the width and height that may make it fit better on your page. But generally, they will give you the code that will give it more of a responsive sizing, so it should work on your website. If you do find code and you're finding that it's just not embedding quite right within the Divi module and looking good, send a help ticket and we can take a look at that together. Question was, does Talkify have an embed option? Yes, sort of. Talkify, I believe, works on an embed code. And that's, or sorry, not an embed code. Oh gosh, I can see it right there. It's a, okay, where's my example Talkify calendar? Let's see, let's actually go ahead and do this. Let's edit. Because that one, I'm going to go over and log into Talkify. In there. Don't know why it doesn't let me save my login here. Okay, so try to save that. Let's do, I haven't created a calendar in here yet, have I? I thought I did one yesterday. I might need to circle back to this just because it's going to take a little too long. If Talkify has a short code. That's the word I'm trying to think of. So it's not the same iframe code. It is a short code. And you would actually get to that through the Talkify plugin. And when you set up the Talkify plugin, it is going to give you your short code. So it's same in concept, but a little bit different than a full-on iframe code. And you would, and that, so that's internal to WordPress, and then the iframe is an external. If you run up and against any of those in specific cases, and we'll probably do an entire session on iframes and short codes down the road, but for now you actually see where that module fits in. Make sense?
Okay, so I would search in WordPress for Talkify plugin.
Yeah, so let's
I can play later.
Yep, we'll come back to that on another on a whole nother session, because I think
that's
it'd be totally worth to do embedding calendars and embedding short codes into your website as its own session. This one, this example one, is actually embedding my homepage. And so if we look at what this example calendar one looks like, is I have built my own code. And let me enable the visual builder here. I built my own iframe. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Okay. So I built an iframe code right here, and the source is the actual homepage of the training website. And then I just have iframe example, and I gave it what the border width. I did have to do some messing around. It didn't seem to want to cooperate super well with me. But what I did embed in here is this w3schools.com website. If you do want to review some basic HTML coding and iframe concepts, the w3schools.com is a really great resource for just very, very step-by-step and test it out on your own coding. So if you wanted to create your own iframe for whatever reason, and you wanted to work on creating an iframe code, the W3 Schools is a good place to go and practice with that. And then you can practice embedding it in a module on your website. One of my future goals is to look at all of the pages that we have that are common across the library websites. For example, the e-resources or online resources pages that most library websites have. We're in WVLS is going to be eliminating Gale courses this fall. So right now, that means I have to go on to every single WVLS website and remove the Gale courses module, or module on advertising and Gale courses page. My future great goal is to do something more like embedding. If we can embed a source page that is fed off of a central website that has your system's online resources, and then it is mirrored onto your mirrored onto your website in a very clean way, we would be able centrally to make one change at a central website, and this would change all of the pages within your system without, so that way if we added a resource, if you added hoopla, or if you took away, if we, another thing, that would be like one of those things that we can hopefully add into the future. Our next one is a Divi contact form example. This is an exceedingly basic form. And what this does is it allows you to create a basic survey or a feedback form on your website. Again, for marketing, somebody could put in their name, their email address, and then some information. I have created another example of this, again, is on this front page of the library training website is the in-person website training interest survey. So I created a very, very generic survey about someday would we like to have an in-person website training workday in your system? And well, how long a day would you want to commit to that? Would you need to bring a computer? And then when a person submits this form, it generates an email that is directed back. It is not as versatile as a Google form where that gets fed into a spreadsheet so that you can keep track. Every response to a survey form in Divi goes to an email address. So let's go back here, and I'm actually going to enable the visual builder on this again. So the contact form is pretty flexible in what you can put into it. We just designed one for Neilsville for the end of their story walk. She wanted a QR code that somebody could scan and then fill out a short survey about their experience on the survey walk. So we put in we put in her survey questions and created a QR code that she printed off, and now she receives an email anytime somebody fills out that form. Okay.
So would you say that this way is better than a Google form?
It's different. It is not better. It is not worse. It is different.
Because we have the Google form set up for the story walk, just like you're talking about.
Mhm.
We have it through the Google form because we have the QR code and everything.
Right.
But I have it set up through a Google form so that we get those emails back.
Yep.
But
But
okay.
yep. So I think the main difference is how do you want to track? There's two main differences. One is how do you want to track the results? I'm sorry, I should have paused my notifications in Slack. Pause notifications for an hour. Okay, so I think the main difference between the contact form and the Google form is there's different flexibility in how you can ask questions between the two of them. And how detailed of a question type you want to use. And then again, in the tracking of the responses. If you're going to get a ton of responses and you want to be able to put them in a spreadsheet so you can compare and contrast, Google form is definitely the way you want to go. If you literally just need enough that you can track it through an email response and your email inbox is not as crazy as mine is, then the contact form for the Divi module might be just fine for you. A couple of, like an example here, the field ID is what you're going to call the question ID. The field options. So you can do an input field where somebody just types a bunch of text. You can do an email field where it's going to require them to put in an @ ... something. It will make sure it'll do a check on that form. a check on the verification that there is a proper email fashion there. The text area creates a larger response area. Checkboxes is your traditional, like you're going to give multiple choices. Radio buttons is going to allow them to select a choice and only one choice. And then drop down. And that's another way that, again, it's one choice, but it's via a drop down. So those are your only choices for field options within there. And yeah, Trevor was like, we have been using the Office 365 forms. Again, that works very similar to Google Forms. It creates a spreadsheet. And it has a lot more choices in how you can set up your questions. But there's things that you can do with Google Forms that you can't do with Office 365, and there's ones you can do there. So it really, really, you have to think about what it is that you're trying to collect, and how you want that information to come in the end. You can get kind of complicated. They do allow you conditional logic here. Raise your hand if you know what conditional logic is. So conditional logic is when if somebody says yes to one answer, it's going to take them to a different set of questions than if they say no to an answer. So depending on the answer to one thing, you can actually set up a branching survey and it will take them down to another set of questions. So it allows you in this module, it does allow you to do a lot of things like that. But again, do you want to be getting all of your responses via email? Do you want it in a spreadsheet? How complicated of a form are you really putting together? So there's options here. You can set up rules, so that your email address does not contain, so if you wanted to, if you were at a university and you wanted students signing up for something with their edu email address, you could say that the email address contains edu, and that would be a verification for those pieces there. So there's a lot of options with this module, but think about what your end product is before you invest too much time in this, because you could end up just with a whole bunch of emails that then you have to go back and input all that information into a spreadsheet later. It does offer, notice here, it offers a very, very simple verification option. So if you wanted to avoid spam responses, that is also part of this. This is where you put in the thing. The spam protection, you can use a basic CAPTCHA, you can use a spam protection service if you want to apply to that. So again, it's pretty powerful when you come down to it. It just depends how much time you want to invest into this particular module, or if you want to keep it pretty simple. Other thoughts and questions about contact form?
Oh, you said it goes to an email address. Is it, you set the email address or does it go to a default one?
Nope. Oops, then I just clicked on the header one instead. Good question. This one goes to, so the email, in fact, I never even put it, so for this example one, it doesn't actually go anywhere. You can put in the email address that you want.
You could do it for each staff if a certain staff member wanted some input for something. Okay.
Exactly. So if somebody on staff says, and then you have to go to theirs and you don't have to forward it. You could also, if you're doing a very large thing, perhaps even create a dedicated email address that would just be right for that one. And then the message pattern piece, this would be like, it would give you the message that you would receive, kind of like, rather than just the subject line saying something, it would give you something that would identify this as a response to this email survey. Website survey. Okay. Good questions. The next one up is the email opt-in module example. So do you have an email newsletter that your library sends out?
We do.
You do. What service do you use for that?
Well, we're transferring to MailChimp. We've been using my email address.
So bingo, that
Sending it out.
and that's exactly what I was going to say. This is going to work when you have an email service that you use to send out your your emails. Because what this does is it integrates with a service provider. And as it happens, MailChimp is at the top of this list right now. But they work with Active Campaign down to Send in Blue options. So I never even heard of Emma or Allbear or any iContact, Get Response, any of these that they have on here. But MailChimp is probably the most popular one. And then you would, if you had already integrated your MailChimp into here, you would select which email list, because you might have 3 or 4. You might have, maybe your story time actually has its own email. Maybe this is, depending on how excited you are, but if you just had a monthly newsletter library email, you would attach that and you would add that to this. You can customize the fields that you want to see, and then your success response, like, yay, you've signed up, congratulations. There's another spam protection option in there. But what this does require is that you already have an email service off of that list that you are working with, and then you may need to add that plugin, or you have to have the information of that list name so that it can feed that back to you. If you want help getting that set up, again, send in a help ticket and we can work with you on that. But then you can embed this anywhere on your website, on your front page, and it will, by default, the design is going to use your theme from your website, but you can go in and create the as usual. You can take your module and you can rework it in a couple of different ways. That makes sense. Okay, any questions on the email opt-in? The social media follow. A lot of you probably already have this on your website and don't know it or haven't had to bother with it, because this has probably been set up for you when you created the website, or when the website was created. So if you have on your website a couple different places, probably in your footer, a little Facebook or Instagram icon, this may have been set up through the social media follow module. And so there is, in this one, I just added an RSS feed because the training website doesn't have social media associated with it. But there are quite a few options, and an RSS feed is a good one for if you want to know when a website has, like, especially this one, if I post a new post and you want to get that notification, then an RSS feed is a good way to sign up for that. I could actually probably add that to my footer on the training page. But other options for social networks, if you click on the plus, there's a bazillion to choose from. And depending on what your library uses, if you're, maybe you're using TikTok, maybe you got WhatsApp, maybe you have it. Actually, I could probably add a YouTube. And then the link to the YouTube playlist. So I could even pull it up here, YouTube playlist. It's this one that has our website on it. Yep, website office hours. So there's the playlist. And if I add that, then I will now have a follow link for our YouTube playlist. And save those changes, and that will be there. So the social media follow may already exist on your page, but if you wanted to add it to a couple other places. I want to take half a second to do a little bit of preaching about privacy and the internet. I do recommend, and this may be a very big conversation for another day, using the social media links with caution. I believe the Divi module is one of the better ones. I do need to do some more research and make sure. There are a ton of plugins out there for Facebook and other ones. That if you were to go into, let me go to your plugins page and search for plugins, there are a lot of websites, library websites, that use some of these social media, the chat plugin, and some other things like that. I highly recommend that you do this with extreme caution. The reason being, some of these plugins have trackers tied into them that if an individual is coming to your library website and they access your social media via a third-party plugin, that tracker does have the ability to go back and often they're going to go back and harvest information from your library patron and your library user. It's not information that the library is going to have access to, but in a way it is an implicitly agreeing with the way that social media and other, mainly social media, harvests information from individuals for whatever purposes they use that information for. So people are coming to your website assuming that my information is private, my information is protected, I can ask questions, I can put things into a chat about a reference question. And in the end, we may not be able to guarantee the privacy of the content that is being transmitted over the internet via your library website and your library social media. If they're using it directly from your Facebook account, that's one thing. They've already agreed to those terms of service, but in some ways, driving a chat through your Facebook thing is inviting them to expose information that they may not have chosen to do so if they were thinking about it. So I think the social media follow is a little bit better because at least it's taking them out to that social media website and they're choosing to use it of their own consumer information, and they're not just using your website and then getting tracked from that. Okay, soapbox. That's just something to think about. And I would probably stick with more of the social media follow module to bring them out to your website or your social media. Questions or thoughts on that? Deep philosophical feelings? Okay. And as I said, I took the map module off of here for right now. We do have maps embedded in several websites. I have used it before. I was a little short on time, and for some reason, I was not able to get the Google API keys to cooperate with me in a fast and easy way. So the way the map module works is it asks for an API key. And what you need to do is you need to create an account with Google, and then that will create an API. I won't go into it any more than that. That might be an entire lesson and session unto itself because it involves creating your own content on Google or another map module and then importing that. It's like iframe. You have to import that into the map module. And it may actually be easier to embed a map via iframe than it would be to actually use the Divi map module. But I'm going to leave it here, and I will circle back as a demonstration with that. And we may have a conversation if people are interested in how to embed a map onto your website in the future. Okay. Any other questions today on any of these Divi modules? We still have several modules to go. I'm going to just, let's see, just closed out. Let's go back to, we'll just edit this page. I just want to do a quick drop down. We will have a round 4 on Divi modules probably next month, if this will load, because we still have some of the fun features if we look at some of the other modules we haven't covered yet, upcoming will be the bar counter in alphabetical order, the bar counter, the circle counter, the countdown timer, the number counter, and I think that might be all in this one, the number counter. These are all statistics. And then person actually is kind of an interesting one too, for your contact page. So this would be like, but we'll be focusing on number counter, countdown timer, and circle counters. So if you're doing anything with reporting statistics on your website, how many people have done this, what percent of people do that, or items do that, promoting an event through the countdown timer, which I know Bloomer, I can't wait to show you. I hope we have to get there before you're totally done. But if nothing else, I will get on and I will do a live shot of your website because you've got that one going good.
That's right now.
Yeah. So these are the upcoming modules for statistics and numbers on your website, and we will be doing that next month, likely. Next session will be next week, Thursday, and we are going to do anchor links, which I know has been a request. And I have been using more and more of them on this website. So it'll be a really good opportunity to use it. In fact, a very, very quick preview. If we come back to this page here, each one of these individual buttons here, if I click on this, that is an anchor link. So there is your preview of one example of how anchor links work. And that will be next Thursday's topic. Okay. So things that are up and coming, and then a reminder that next Wednesday and immediately after the anchor link session, we will break and we will go into a website 201. So we'll go back to some of the more basic topics. This is getting into Divi building. We'll back up and do a much more basic kind of post 101, but next early steps with your website. So bring those questions and bring your ideas for that. Hey. Any other questions today? I'm going to stop the recording and we can hang out if I can find my button to stop recording. Let's see, pause recording.